Hi, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. I'm here with Brett, and we are reviewing another movie. Last night, we had the honor and privilege of watching the Mean Girls reboot. It was deceptively marketed as a reboot, but really this is based on the Broadway musical. So a lot of the aspects of the story were changed. They didn't want viewers to know that, of course. And I felt like this was a problem from the very start. I wrote a whole thread on X about it because, yeah. Did you see it?
No, it didn't show.
Well, it was not last night, but
okay, this was a while ago.
When they first announced it, when they first put the trailer out, I just immediately disapproved because all of the casting choices were just abysmal. Aside from the people who were already in the original movie, it seemed like they couldn't decide whether this was a complete retelling of the story or if this was in the same universe in which the 2004 story came about. Like, it was very confusing and disjointed. All of the characters were watered down from what they were in the original as well. And it was basically like, what if we did Mean Girls in the current day where all of these teens are using TikTok and they're really fat and annoying and gay? Is that fair? Am I being too harsh?
That's I mean that's pretty fair. Like, you're not going to get the same edge that you got back in 2004 because the culture is just really different. I mean my biggest critique it's more that what was once just a new idea was now a bunch of people trying to imitate what was once a style in the early 2000s, meaning that none of these people clearly talk or think this way, and you can tell that they don't, whereas the characters in, say, a Clueless or in the original Mean Girls actually felt like they embodied those type of personality traits, where in this it just felt like I was watching a bunch of posers.
Yeah, it felt like it was a movie about Mean Girls.
I did like Karen. I did like Karen because
story.
She's so unbelievably stupid that like I got a kick out of Karen.
Well, Karen was already stupid in the original, but she was stupid in an endearing way, and the new Karen just, it doesn't have that effect for me. I found it endearing. And also, like, the Mean Girls movie has kind of skewed in cultural memory to the point where people, for some reason, thought Regina George was the protagonist, when in reality, Katie Heron was the protagonist. Yeah. Lindsay Lohan was the protagonist of Mean Girls. And also due to the circumstance that Renee Rapp is more famous than the rest of the cast, they had to market it as a movie that stars her primarily, but that is not what it was in the original.
Yeah, you don't see her right off the bat. You're immediately introduced to Katie right off the bat.
Like, aside from all the woke stuff, which is definitely there, the main problem with this storytelling is they replaced Katie Heron as the narrator and the protagonist, and used the musical numbers to narrate the story instead. If you had never seen the original, this would make no sense. And at first, while we were watching, I thought, you know, this is a new movie. You have to judge it on its own merits without comparing it to the original.
No.
But that is actually idiotic, and I threw out that. Yeah, like I was not. After a while, I was like, no, that's stupid. I'm going to compare it to the original because it is trying to reach the same heights as the original, and it's based on that. So, yes, I'm going to compare it on the merits of the 2004 one,
if they wanted to do that
on its own.
If they wanted to do that, then name it something else.
Exactly.
And change the characters.
Yeah, and look, the cast is not good looking for a Hollywood movie. They're not good looking enough.
The background, there was dancers and background characters that were better looking than the actual actors.
Tina Fey has aged like 5 years in 20 years. Yeah. She looks great. Lindsay Lohan also had a cameo, but I didn't know if she was going to be in it or not. But yeah, she also looks very good for her age, and honestly better than Busy Phillips was one of the best actors in the movie, and she barely had much screen time. But the older actors just clearly know what they're doing.
John Hamm
and all these people from Broadway look like amateurs in comparison. Also, Angourie Rice, who plays Katie Heron in this, is not a very good singer, and she had way too many musical numbers.
Well, there's a lot of auto-tune and very heavy editing to the music. It's done in this tone of like the poppiest of pop that's supposed to get stuck in your head.
And it didn't.
Most of the musical numbers. There was a I liked the one from maybe it's because I liked Karen's, the Halloween one.
Yeah, Karen's song was directly taken from the Broadway soundtrack, and I'd heard it before. So
I haven't seen it.
I did actually like that song. It was more catchy than the rest of them. I like that lyric that's like, "This is modern feminism talking. I expect to run the world in shoes I cannot walk in." Like, I thought that was kind of funny.
I do also want to point out that like for when you say that the cast is not super good looking, that's the women, and the boys are like Aaron.
No, Aaron is ugly.
But Aaron is still like he's still thin. He's still like a normal.
Oh
looking,
yeah, sure. He's in shape,
yes.
but I do not enjoy looking at his face.
The hair.
And his hair, it's just, and then, the bonus feature that they played before the movie had Tina Fey saying, like, we did a survey of Gen Z, and this actor for Aaron was the unanimous choice. Yeah. So I guess I'm out of touch, and I don't know what Gen Z is into, but I do not think he is attractive. And the rest of the cast, like, I'm not saying they're unattractive. I'm not saying they're ugly.
They're just not.
But Renee Rapp is not Rachel McAdams in 2004. Angourie Rice is not Lindsay Lohan in 2004. It's just a whole different league. Like, they're not as good at acting, and they're not as good looking. I didn't enjoy looking at them. And I don't think a girl who looks like Renee Rapp would have the entire student body heeding to her demands. And she said, like, I have this whole school humping my leg like a chihuahua. Although Renee Rapp was a better singer than the other cast members.
Yes.
I do give her credit for that.
I enjoyed from a purely technical standpoint, I enjoyed the cinematography during the dance numbers, meaning that all of the camera work and
they're
stuff.
Broadway. They know what they're doing with set design and stuff.
Yes, I thought
and
that
the choreography.
I thought that most of those, especially Janice's, was really, really well constructed. Moving about the school through the workout area for the boys. I
hate this Janice.
Yeah.
I just have to say that I love Janice from the original, and she is the girl that voiced Moana. That's true. But I don't like this Janice. I don't like this Damien. In fact, what is the punchline in calling Damien too gay to function if everyone at this school is gay? How is he unique, or how does he not fit in at this school if everyone at this school is gay? Also, they just fundamentally changed a lot of things about, like, from the original story and the original cast. Weird small things that you would think would fly right over people's heads. I feel really gaslit by this movie because you're, the crazy person, and you're the a-hole if you're the one that points out that they're not as good looking. You're also crazy if you point out the small differences, like the fact that they essentially killed off Katie Heron's dad and they killed off Regina George's dad. They were not in the movie.
Who was the guy with the Regina George and the mom and the dad are behind the camera when they're doing the photos before the dance, before the mom gets in front of the camera and then poses with the boyfriend. There's two people behind the camera. I thought he was there, but only for that scene.
Well, remember that scene when Regina George was getting dressed up for the Halloween party and she was in this slutty Playboy bunny costume?
Yes.
And her dad is impotently, watching her take all of these photos with her enabling mom, and he's like crying because he realized how badly he messed up as a parent. Like, that was such a profoundly true to life aspect of the story, that Regina George's dad was a beta who was walked all over in this like long house.
There's an actor named Connor Ratliff that's credited as Mr. Rapp.
But then Katie Heron's dad is presumably
dead.
Either dead or abandoned her. And I just find that small change very insidious and weird. And I noticed it, even if no one else will. I find it weird. There were also lyrics that were changed from the Broadway musical as well. When Karen was in her musical number, she said, "I can be a sexy Joan of Arc." In the original, that was, "I can be a sexy Rosa Parks." So you can disrespect a Catholic saint, but not a civil rights saint. It's just the little things like that, where if you're the one that points out the change, you sound insane. But I'm not crazy.
No, you're not, and I'll tell you why. Because look, whatever people think of Hollywood, there is no such thing as a decision that isn't extremely well thought out when they make these movies.
Exactly.
Every camera angle, every writing decision. There's studio notes that would have been given that would have said you cannot make that comparison. Anybody who tells you differently is lying or doesn't understand just how much, for how bad a lot of these movies are, a lot of care and thought goes into how they're made.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I feel gaslit by it, because it's like you're noticing such a small change that's totally meaningless, but
it's not meaningless.
It's meaningful enough to them that they're micromanaging it and catering it to be sensitive to modern sensibilities and to Gen Z. But Mean Girls was about millennials, and I don't know, setting it in the modern day just didn't feel right. It felt very out of place. The fact that they're all on TikTok, the Megan Thee Stallion cameos.
I saw the dancer that I always mention, Enola Beddard, had like a small cameo in that part too. She was talking about it.
Here's another thing. They completely changed the origin story of Janice and Regina's friendship. Janice was never gay. Janice ended up with Kevin Apor at the end of the 2004 movie. She was always straight. They had a falling out because Regina went around telling everyone that Janice was a lesbian when she wasn't. But instead, they changed it to this bizarre storyline that I wouldn't even be able to retell, where Janice actually was gay and Regina was a homophobe. Like, why was that necessary? I don't understand. Like, everyone just had to be race swapped, made chubby and not good looking. Everyone had to be gay, in some kind of minority group to reach certain quotas, and it doesn't feel organic.
That change was always going to happen. They were never going to allow that, which is funny because she's the bad guy.
Yeah, and also, like, in Hollywood movies and TV shows, the losers at the school are still hot. They style them differently, but they're still good looking. Janice was a very good looking character, and instead they made her mid and fat.
They are all just kind of not skinny. They're not fat, but they're just not skinny.
And just the continuity of Regina's character, she's somebody who has like this intense focus on her calories, and she's constantly talking about wanting to lose 3 pounds and is like panicking about her body image, yet she is literally overweight in this movie. I mean, at least in the original, you were supposed to think she was gaining weight throughout it because of their secret plan to make her fat, to humiliate her, but that wasn't a thing in this one because they had her fat from beginning to end. It's not pleasant to look at, and I am well within my right to point out the difference.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.